Spoiler warning for this entire video. The toothbrushing scene in episode 8 of Nisei Monogatari is fucking great. The scene is literally 4 minutes of bristling eroticism, but in context is a refreshingly taboo bit of rinse to cap off a thorough flossing of scruples these characters may have had prior. Or that you may have had prior. The Monogatari series turns the hearts of men. On first glance, this scene may seem to be a love letter to debauchery, sinking lower than most would find appropriate, pitting brother and sister with, rather than against, each other. Both, mind you, who are already in relationships. There's Araragi Koyomi, boyfriend of Shinjo Gahara, and there's Araragi Karen, alleged girlfriend of Mizudori. We'll get back to that later. Both seemingly betraying their significant other to engage in the incestual arts, damning this entire blasted show to depths of depravity and needless indecency, the likes of which that could never be recovered from. On second glance, it's kind of sweet. It comes about from Koyomi issuing a vague challenge to Karen, the rules of the game unspecified. The outcome is that if Karen wins, then Koyomi will relent and introduce her to sporty exhibitionist Kanbaru Surega. Why is that the prize? Karen had heard Koyomi mention Kanbaru a couple of times, and for whatever reason, Karen is hell-bent on being introduced to her. Koyomi has some reservations about that because he knows Kanbaru as a huge pervert and specifically a lesbian, and is afraid for his sister's purity? Honestly, Koyomi is clearly projecting. I'm not sure about that shit. Karen's response to the issuing of a vague challenge? Choose any rules. I'll clear any test. Now, I'll do anything is one of Koyomi's triggers, and after an epiphany, he leaves the room and comes back with her toothbrush, and after a bit of dawdling, the game is on. Koyomi specifically thought up this toothbrush challenge as something that sports exhibitionist Kanbaru would perhaps fetishistically come up with. Something that'll feel bizarre and good. Why is this a challenge? Because Koyomi doesn't think that Karen can take ex-sportionist Kanbaru, so actually this is a very logical way to test Karen's mettle. Unfortunately for Koyomi, Karen at this point is already high-key down to fuck, so a bit of low-key perversion isn't upping the stakes. Koyomi did not realize this at all. You can see his misplaced confidence in the glorious way his hair blows back in the breeze like a goddamn Dubermensch. The turning point for Koyomi's heart is hearing Karen's moans of toothy pleasure. How do I mean turning point? Let's see what's different. Back in Arc 2, Mayoi Maimai, Koyomi was actually specifically asked by Shinjo Gahara if he's a siscon. His response? That sort of perversion only makes sense for people that don't actually have sisters. His relationship with the Araragi girls is somewhat strained, to say the least. Now, by the time we're engaged in gum caressing, Koyomi and Karen have already made up. But what exactly was the process that took us from bickering all the time to Karen wanting to ride Koyomi like a fuckstick? It's actually rather straightforward. Karen was involving herself in her usual justice fetishization that she refers to as the Fire Sisters, which led her to my main man, Kaiki Deishu. He was terrorizing some children a little bit for a paltry profit. He's too cunning for Karen, though, and defeats her by magically stinging her with a magic bee or something. This causes Karen to be weakened and sick. Koyomi then gets to wipe down her sweat while she angrily recounts her encounter with Kaiki, and afterwards, Koyomi meets with vampire lolly Shinobu to ask her, is there any way to lessen the effects of the sting? Specifically, is there any way to transfer that shit to Koyomi? Since Koyomi is a hard-as-nails part vampire, he could take on such an ailment and it wouldn't be nearly as sweat-inducing. Nobody wants to be that soggy. Shinobu says there is a way to relieve some of the pain, but that it's not recommended. Of course, our hero would do anything to relieve some of the shit his sister is going through. What a boss.
兄ちゃん、トイレかなんか知らないけれど、行くなら服着せてから行ってくれよ。
カレンちゃん、今からお前とキスするぞ。
The kiss is not shown. The episode ends there, and the next episode starts after the kiss scene would have happened, although perhaps a flower of love does bloom. Why is this scene itself cut from us when this show seems to have no problem with showing high amounts of lasciviousness? I think it's to illustrate that at this point, Koyomi isn't yet in any way interested in his dank sister. He kissed her literally just to relieve some of her pain. Karen, however, does not know of any supernatural shit that Koyomi gets up to, so from her point of view, this can't be seen as anything but sexual and jarring. This fucks up her emotional state a bit. She's already weak from the sting, pissed at her brother for not believing in her justice or what have you, but now on top of this, there's all this new bullshit she has to think about springing forth from the ramifications of this last night, this kiss. So she fucks off for a while to think about it. Though Tsukihi, her sister, and Koyomi, her brother, don't know why Karen's missing, so they assume the worst. Koyomi goes on after her with help from Lollivamp Shinobu. By the by, there's this entire other character arc happening with this Vollylamp Shinobu stuff in Nisei Monogatari, but I only have enough mint-fresh time to cover one sliver of this section of this arc in the season of this proverbial saga of a show, so just stick with me here. Must resist tangent into explaining that a season in Monogatari terms means 6 volumes, not 12 episodes. Volumes that can contain 1 arc, or 2, or 3, or 12, really, it's up in the air. Now, let's leave this alone for now. Araragi Karen beats the fuck, the hell, the ever-loving shit out of her bitch-ass brother. She goes tooth and nail on this motherfucker. Not that he's into his mother, I mean, I'm into his mother, like damn, but as far as I know, that well remains untapped. Anyway, thank God Koyomi has vampiric healing. Vampiric healing. Listen, vampires in this story, in a lot of Japanese stories actually, are basically gods with every power that you could imagine and 4 more that you didn't. And so even though Koyomi is just part vampire, missing most of the powers, he still gets to be a heel boy. He needed that to save his ass here because Karen's karate is gotten so fucking good that she's a goddamn unstoppable war beast, notwithstanding how she was easily taken off guard and stopped by Kaiki. But Kaiki's a specialist, and they're kind of on their own tier. Does anyone have a power level chart for this show? Karen has a lot of shit to work out. She's pissed off because her brother doesn't believe in her justice, and she's confused by the emotions springing forth from that kiss, and also she's unwell from the remaining after effects of the supernatural bee sting thing. Being a teenager is tough, 2 out of 10 would not recommend. But it's okay, because beating her aggression into Koyomi is a healthy development. Then they have a short talk about the nature of fakeness, which is what the theme of Nisei Monogatari is. They come to a better understanding of each other and hug it out. They hug it real good. Just look at that shit. Aw, yeah. Koyomi tells her that he's proud of her and blah blah, even mockingly adds in a try not to fall in love, lol incest. But what he doesn't realize, because he's dumb as fuck, is that now that he's extinguished her aggression, all that she has left with regards to feelings towards him right now are of the lovely variety. She's already fallen in love, as she says. Fuck. You really fucked this one up, asshole, making your sister fall in love with you, you dirty piece of shit. Anyways, the next time we see Karen, she's all lovey-dovey. The next time we see her, she's sleeping naked with her sister. More on that in the earlier thing later. The next time we see Karen after that, she's aggressively into her brother. Karen is not a very mature and doesn't really know what to do with her feelings, but the way she chooses to act is kind of adorable. She's wearing her sister Tsukihi's clothing right now without permission because her typical tomboyishness dictates that she doesn't own any flashy, revealing clothing to use to entice her brother. This does not entice her brother, however, who still sees her as an annoying younger sister. Incidentally, about wearing her sister's clothes, of course this scene ultimately ends with a little bit of cockblock, although, in true Monogatari is a better show than your shitty harem comedy fashion, after the cockblock ends, they just get right back to it. But still, I don't often see people respect the actual cockblock part of this scene, but I respect the fuck out of it. Why? Because it's hilarious as fuck! Watch this shit!
何してはるんですか？お兄はん、カレンはん、なんどすえこの状況。
待て、月下！違うんだ！
なんでお兄ちゃんが歯磨いたりしてあげながらカレンちゃんを慈愛顔でベッドに押し倒してるの？なんでカレンちゃんは私の服を着てお兄ちゃんからうっとり顔でベッドに押し倒されてるの？う
わー！なんで僕、歯磨いたりしてあげながら実の妹を慈愛顔でベッドに押し倒してるんだ！
なんで私、実の妹の服を着て実の兄からうっとり顔でベッドに押し倒されてるんだよ！
びっくりした！助かったぜ、月下！ありがとう！
So anyway, what the fuck is the title of this video really about other than a shitty mint pun? If Karen's already in fuck mode before the scene takes place, how is it a climax? Especially with a cock block, that kind of defeats my entire word choice. Well, it's not that it's the climax of Karen's arc, that was the intense hugging and now she's a changed character. The climax is of Koyomi's little siscon arc he didn't know he was on, because until this point he just thought of his sisters as an annoyance, one that he's proud of, but an annoyance. After this, though, well, later in the future, we get treated to this scene after new and improved badass long-haired Koyomi walks in on exhibitionist sport Kanbaru naked, which is a normal occurrence as sport exhibit Kanbaru is often naked, and this dialogue is dialogued.
妹は2人いるから30かも。
どういうタイミングで妹の全裸を見るのだ？
そりゃまあ、脱がせた時とか？
裁判をすっ飛ばして実刑でいいじゃないか！
Although that's getting a bit ahead of ourselves, because at that point he's into both of his sisters, and they're both into him. Let's tangent for a while and never actually return back to what this video is supposedly about. Alright, why is it that Koyomi is both comfortable with his coupling with his sisters, but also earnestly states that there is no such thing as the Araragi harem? Well, I'm going to argue that he's not full of shit. There is no Araragi harem. Evidence to this is not just his sound rejection of Hanekawa, nor just his denial of the purely sexual advances of export Kanbaru, and I do mean purely sexual, as she has made it clear that she's romantically a lesbian. And then there's the fact that if he cheats on Senjogahara, she'll kill him. So even if you would qualify the situation as a harem, since Koyomi's still alive, we can extrapolate that Senjogahara doesn't qualify this as a harem, and I'd say neither should we. So, what is this? Araragi Koyomi is in a few distinct relationships, with Shinobu, a master-servant dynamic, with Senjogahara, a boyfriend-girlfriend dynamic, with his sisters, an ancestral menage-a-trois dynamic, and I would say that the different nature of these relationships puts none of them in conflict with each other, and also puts none of them on the same level as each other, so there is not only no cheating being done, there is no harem dynamic at all. Menage-a-trois, I hear you say? What tra is being menaged? Alright, let's get into this. Araragi Karen and Araragi Tsukihi both claim to have boyfriends. I don't know if the light novels confirm their existence or not, but the anime thus far has not, and I have compelling evidence to claim that they do not actually exist. I bring you Exhibit A, the only exhibit I need. This page from a doujinshi I fapped to once. Like, look at this shit, motherfuckers! The doujin author even shows his goddamn work on the blackboard. The names of these alleged boyfriends map, using magical Japanese magic, also known as kanji, into the names of each other. You saw the naked sleeping. It's even recreated on this page. There are no boyfriends. These sisters are fucking each other. Yuri's sisters win. And so introducing the brother into the fold makes this a consensual tridirectional fuck sandwich, which, in my opinion, makes the relationship tangential to the boyfriend-girlfriend dynamic that Koyomi shares with Senjogahara, meaning not in conflict of. And I'm sure Senjogahara would maybe be in approval of it, possibly. I mean, familial love or some shit. Listen, let me have this, okay? Please? I don't have many things in this world, okay? Let me have this anime where the main character is in 3 different non-conflicting relationships and is able to swiftly avoid actually being a generic harem king. That's so awesome! I need it to be real! Nisio Isin is meta enough! This doujin may as well be canon! Where the fuck was I? No, I think I covered it. Thoroughly brushed through my points, flossed up the context, mouthwashed my brain so I'd stop trying to force these fucking oral hygiene words into the script, because goddamn I suck at that. And well, there you have it. I guess that's it. Hey, now that I've got your attention, I have a ton of content on this channel.